Hello, you join me on the inside of the brand new Mercedes-Benz EQE 43 AMG 4MATIC Plus. Wow, that went on for longer than I was expecting. But that is the official name of this car. It is one of the first electric cars to wear the AMG badge. Now, it's not an AMG specific model. Those are still coming. But Mercedes-Benz's famous performance division, something, has breathed upon this car and they've put their badge on the back. And that means that I think we can call this a super saloon, a sports sedan. I think that makes sense, but it's electric. It's fully electric. There is not a single hydrocarbon being burnt as I talk to you, except at a massive coal-fired power station in Mpumalanga. But let's not focus on that too much, because I'm here to tell you all about this car. And before I do, I would just like to direct you to our fantastic new app. Well, it's a newer version of our app, and you'll find the links to the download in the description below. It is the best and fastest way to find your next car. Right, let's go. Okay, that's some acceleration.
Dream, search, drive. Cars.co.za.
So what are we dealing with here? 90 kilowatt hour usable battery underneath my butt, and two electric motors generating 350 kilowatts and 858 Newton meters of torque. Now, if that's not enough for you, you can buy the EQE 53, which has 505 kilowatts and 1,000 Newton meters of torque. But to be honest with you, that seems like overkill, because this car is already fast enough. My colleague Dave Taylor went and tested it with a 0 to 100 with a draggy, and he achieved 4.1 seconds. Yeah, 4.1 seconds. And the thing is, it feels faster because obviously it's electric. So all the torque is available at 0 RPM, or at 1 RPM rather. And so your sort of 0 to 60 time is unbelievable. It's like being shot out of a cannon when you put your foot on the accelerator here. But yes, we know electric cars are fast, at least fast in a straight line. But this car wears an AMG badge, which means that it at least has to be pretty good in the corners. I mean, I don't think AMGs were ever really famous for their cornering ability. But in my humble opinion, I've never really associated big AMG cars with nimble handling. For me, if you really want scalpel-like handling, then there are other brands out there. AMG for me has always been a big power brand. One of my favorite cars of all time, one of my favorite engines of all time, is the W204 C63 AMG with the 6.2 litre V8 naturally aspirated engine. Now for me, that was one of the best sounding cars of all time. So is it okay for an AMG badged car not to make a noise? Is that something we're going to be able to live with? Wow, this is a brave new world. But AMG sort of has a solution. Now, in developing this car in partnership with the Mercedes brand, AMG were allowed to tweak a whole bunch of things. So for instance, they tweaked the software which manages the batteries, they tweaked the software which manages the motors, they tweaked the suspension, the steering, the brakes. A lot of that has been developed by AMG. Now, back in the good old days when we used to burn fuel to go forward, tuning meant actually getting involved with spanners and oil and tweaking actual mechanical parts. But can you imagine what the AMG tuning session was like for this car? I mean, it was obviously just a bunch of guys and girls on laptops just be like, make it faster, make it press that button, make it faster. I don't know, I'm just guessing. However, it is quite fun to have an AMG button on the dashboard. You hit that and then you can select from a whole bunch of settings, and you can put the management in Sport or Sport Plus. There's all these pre-selected driving modes. There's individual, and then you get two jog wheels over here to flick through your driving modes really quickly. Going into Sport or Sport Plus, automatically activates the AMG sound system. We used to say powerful pops, now we say powerful bass actuators or something. Anyway, I've got it on powerful. Right, give me all of your powerful noises. It's quite hard to describe. I mean, it's there, but it's very subtle. It's not as loud as you get in the BMWs with their iconic sound system. And I don't think I can change the loudness of it. So that's sort of what you get. But it's a sound which sort of increases a little bit in volume, but it more increases in intensity. And it's very bassy. There's actually a couple of specific bass actuators placed around the car to create a little bit of vibration and to create that sort of bassy tone. I think they could have cranked this up. I feel like it should have been a little bit more overwhelming, a little bit more noticeable. It's interesting. And when you're at idle, it sort of hums. Don't know if I'm completely sold on this. These new cars can receive over-the-air updates. I mean, I feel like that's something that could be tweaked in the future. Just, crank it up a little bit. Right, the next question we have to answer is, does this car offer a sports sedan super saloon experience? And I'm on this beautiful country road out in Stellenbosch with some of the most enjoyable corners that you'll find on any road anywhere. And so this is going to give me an opportunity to test this car's dynamics. I've got it in Sport Plus. That means the suspension is at its firmest setting, the air suspension. The steering gets a bit more weighted. The throttle response gets a bit more sensitive. And so it's a much more sharper feeling ride. But the first thing I ask myself is, this car's heavy. Can a 2.4 ton car feel like a sports sedan? I mean, to sort of put that into perspective, I've got an old E39 M5, and that was quite a heavy car in its day, and that weighs 1.7 tons. So this is 700 kilograms heavier than that. Look, the air suspension is doing a good job of hiding this car's weight. It does feel relatively nimble. In fact, I'm actually quite surprised by how nimble it feels. I am getting sort of sporty vibes from it. One of my other criticisms of this car, though, is that because the battery's under the floor, you actually sit quite high. In fact, it almost feels like, sometimes it feels like I'm getting more of a fast SUV experience out of this. I mean, now that's not necessarily a bad thing. Fast SUVs are very much part of our motoring landscape, but if you're looking for a low-slung sports sedan experience where it sort of feels like you're sitting in a bathtub, you're not going to get it here. You're sitting quite upright and you're quite high off the ground. But of course, because all the weight is in the floor, the center of gravity is very low. So I don't feel like it's chuckable. You can't throw it into a corner necessarily, but if you're gentle with your steering inputs, then this car feels particularly planted. It is giving me a lot of confidence to push. And of course, when you come out of a corner, as soon as you get on the accelerator, you just get all that torque instantaneously, and then you just bang, you're off at the horizon. Yeah, I'm pretty impressed. I think this does qualify as a sports sedan, a super saloon. I mean, it's got the power and the handling's there. I mean, I'm not sure I want to take it around a racetrack. And funnily enough, you can actually get a race pack as an optional extra for this car and time your laps, which seems like a completely pointless exercise. But anyway, I'm not sure it's going to be amazing around a racetrack, and I don't think any of them will ever see racetracks. But on a fairly tight and twisting road like that, yeah, I'm pretty impressed. But let's put it back in serene mode. So that reduces the power, turns off the AMG noise, and then this really is a lovely car to drive. incredibly quiet. It's very aerodynamic, so you don't get any wind noise. And that's the reason why it is so oddly shaped, this car. I can't really get used to the shape. But a teardrop shape is the most aerodynamically efficient shape. So that means less drag, so that means less work for the motors to do, which means more range. And talking about range, Mercedes claims about 450 Ks for this, with a max about a 50 K more than that. But in reality, 380 to 400 is, I think, what you're getting here, which sort of puts it on par with cars like the BMW iX40. So the range is pretty decent. It also accepts fast charging, so you can charge up to 170 kilowatts from a proper DC fast charger, although there aren't many of those in South Africa. But it will also accept 22 kilowatts of AC charging, which not a lot of cars do, actually. Most cars on AC chargers only actually charge at 11 kilowatts, no matter how powerful the AC charger is. But yesterday we plugged it into a 50 kilowatt charger, and we got up to 80% in about an hour. But as I always say when I review electric cars, unless you can charge your car overnight at home, then electric cars aren't for you. It just becomes a faff when you have to constantly hunt down chargers all over the place. Charge at night, you'll be happy, promise. Right, the interior of the EQE. Here's the key. Kind of looks like the car, actually. I don't know, it reminds me of the car. Does that make sense? Yeah, quite an interesting key. Now, this car can be fitted with that really fancy, massive screen that Mercedes offers, where you've got a screen over there and a screen here and a screen here. It goes from A pillar to A pillar. It's an extra option. This car doesn't have it. So you just get this screen, which is plenty big enough in my opinion, and it's a pretty smart system. What I like is that the climate controls are always visible. You never have to dig into the menu for a climate control. The sat-nav is really impressive. It comes up with a view of the street ahead of you, and then it actually superimposes arrows and directions onto your live view. So the volume knob is touch sensitive, which is quite cool. You just sort of stroke it gently. It's becoming a really awkward interior scene. I love the AMG button on the left. That's very cool, and you can get into all of your AMG modes and fiddle with all your settings. Here's your parking button, for instance. Very impressive cameras, although the doors are open right now, so you won't see the view. The seats are very nice, very comfortable, very sporty looking, but they're not very wide at the back. So if you're a bit bigger than me and I don't know, you're Courbus Vessel or something, I don't think you're going to be very comfortable in here. But there are some nice touches. I like the contrast stitching with the Alcantara on the doors. I do like it on the dashboard. And I really, really like the steering wheel. It's a Napa leather steering wheel. It feels great in your hands. It's the right size. It looks good. And I do like the shortcut controllers for your AMG mode. But that is sort of where what I like kind of comes to an end. But I do think this interior deserves some criticism. Now, Mercs of late have not really impressed very much with their interior quality, the build quality and the quality of the materials. It feels like there's sort of a very thin veneer of Mercness over quite a budget interior. And in places here, you do get that. So this sort of creaks, this beading around here is a little bit loose, which doesn't really feel great. This sort of creaks as well, although I don't think you're going to be lifting that up too often. But listen to that. Yeah, kind of feel like that could be done a bit better. Mercedes. Mercedes. Right, the back seats, and wow, am I uncomfortable. I don't know if this translates on camera, but this bit at the bottom here, where your butt goes, is angled very dramatically. And I think they do that so that it lifts your knees, because obviously with the battery underneath, the floor is higher up. But wow, I don't think I could do long distance in this, to be honest. I mean, it's well cushioned and everything, and there's good knee room, so that's not a problem. But just the angle of this bit that just doesn't work. There's like nowhere you can sit where it's comfortable. And onto the boot area of this vehicle. This is how you open the boot. It's pretty cool. And what's interesting about it is it's very deep, but it's not very wide. So I'll show you how much boot you actually lose. The car is over here, that's where it ends, and then the boot begins over there. So you lose about that much width. I'm not entirely sure why that is. I can see the charging ports over here, but that just feels like an excessive amount of width to lose in your boot area. But like I say, there is good depth. So let us proceed with our highly scientific cooler box test. And yeah, it fits in. That's not a problem. And then all the way to the back. No, that's good. That's about a 6 cooler box boot, that. And then your charging cables come in these nice bags which are strapped to the side of the boot as well, so that's quite useful. Now that's decent. That's actually a decent usable boot. So you can use this car for touring or taking people to the airport with all their luggage. It's quite a rapid boot closing, that, eh? It's like, yeah! And that brings us to pricing. So what do you have to spend to get yourself an EQE 43? Before options, you're looking at 2.1 million rand. But to put that 2.1 million in perspective, let's compare it to an ICE car, an old-fashioned internal combustion car. So this is the EQE, so it's the sort of electric E-Class. And right now, the most expensive E-Class sedan in South Africa is the 220D AMG line, and that costs R1 million less than this. 1 million rand less than this. So yeah, running your EV will save you money, but it's not going to save you R1 million unless, I don't know, you plan on driving around the equator a couple of times. Look, this is more special than an E220D, I'll give it that. Although, that being said, actually, if there was an E63, which doesn't seem to be for sale anymore, actually, that would be a lot more expensive. It would probably be around 1.7 million for similar performance. So let's not compare it to an E220D, but I just thought that was an interesting comparison to make. Now, of course, 2 million rand for any car is a lot of money, but let's look at what it is competing against. So if you want a fast electric sedan from Audi, unfortunately now you can't have the cheaper model anymore, the GT. You have to buy the RS, and that's over 3 million rand. If you want the sister car from Porsche, the Taycan, that's 2.8 million rand for the 4S model. But here's where the EQE for me has a really strong rival, and that's in the form of the BMW iX, because the 40, which has similar range to this, is 1.7 million, just over 1.7, and if you go up a bit to 2.3 million, well then you get the 50, and that has phenomenal range. I mean, I tested that car for a month and I never did anything less than 500 Ks on a full charge in the real world. So yes, if you really want a sports saloon, I think the EQE is not actually badly priced in that company. And for me, the iX is a particularly good car. One of the best cars I think I've ever driven, actually. And then there's one more rival to mention, which at the time of filming, we don't have a price for yet. And that is the recently announced BMW i5. Now, I have a feeling that's going to be quite closely priced to this, or maybe undercut it a little bit. And that will be a direct rival. And I'm looking forward to driving that car. So the EQE does have its work cut out for it. It has to be good to compete in this market. And it is good. It really is. Now, in terms of your backup included in the price, you're looking at a 5-year, 100,000 kilometer maintenance plan. Basically covers everything on the car for 5 years. You get a 2-year unlimited kilometer warranty. And then I think the most important thing, however, is that you get a 10-year unlimited kilometer warranty on the battery. I have enjoyed my time driving this car. It's interesting. It's one of the more interesting electric cars that I've ever driven, actually. It's one of the more interesting cars I've ever driven. I think they've done a good job with this car. I think sending it over to AMG to be plugged into a laptop has worked out really well. I think if you bought this as a commuter car, I'm not sure I want to do long distance in electric cars personally. I know you can, and we have done it. It is possible. But as a commuter car, as a luxury, exciting, fast car to drive on a daily basis, yeah, this ticks all the boxes. Right, thanks very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed that review. If you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, we'd absolutely love it if you joined us on our journey. We have over 700 videos on the channel. So if you're looking for a review of an older car, it's almost certain that a thinner version of me would have done that at some point. So go and check out our back catalog. And remember, Cars.co.za is not only the best place to buy your next car, it's also the best place to sell your car. So go check out the sell car functionality on our website or inside the app. Right, I have been Ciro De Siena. I'll probably continue to be Ciro De Siena for a while longer. Thanks very much for watching. See you on the next one.
Cars.co.za.
Not only is Cars.co.za the best place to find your dream car, but it's also the easiest place to sell your current car. Check out the sell car section on our main website. Simply list your car's details and all of our dealers will take bids on your car. You just choose the highest price. Boom, your car's gone. On to your next one. Right, thanks very much for watching the video. Okay, I think I'm done. Yeah, I'm finished now.
You deserve insurance that doesn't faff around. Budget, the official insurer of good South Africans.